Okay, welcome to the Ska History Hour with your hosts, Jose Rojas
Hello.
and myself, Daryl Rubio, wherein the purpose of this channel is to spread awareness of ska music and its subgenres to the world. Our guest today is none other than the singer and face of Bimskalabim and Steady Earnest, Dan Vitale. Dan, thank you so very much. We appreciate the time you're taking to speak with us, to share your stories and your music to the ska community.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So I see your band, Bimskalabim, started circa about 1983. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. You guys play a variety of ska hits, which most of them I love. Can you tell me about the name of the band, how that came about, and the formation of the band?
Name of the band, probably the most popular question in interviews, but there's all kinds of different answers to it depending on who you ask. But as a kid, of my age, growing up, we watched a lot of Three Stooges and Bugs Bunny, and even Laurel and Hardy reruns. So all three of them used the magical word simsalabim, which turns out to just be an Arabic greeting. And we just permutated simsalabim into bimskalabim. So it still sounds like the magic word that people of our age, a certain age, grew up with, listening to reruns of Bugs Bunny and the Three Stooges. I don't know if you remember that, but
Yeah.
or Haji was the fourth one that used it as a magical incantation. From Johnny Quest, Haji and Johnny Quest. So that's the list. Haji from Johnny Quest, the Three Stooges, Bugs Bunny, and Laurel and Hardy all used it at some point, but not quite the exact same. The Sim Salabim, and I just changed it to Bimskalabim.
That
I
sounds
take
awesome.
credit for that one.
Cool. Now, I'd like to ask, what was the ska and alternative music scene like in Boston during the early 80s?
Well, the 80s was really great in Boston. As a matter of fact, I did a documentary that focuses on one of the clubs where many of us got started in the 80s called Chet's Last Call. And the name of the documentary is actually Chet's Last Call, too. And you can find it on Tubi or Amazon or YouTube movies and stuff like that. It's on a lot of those now. It just came out on those bigger streaming services back in November. So it's only been a few months. But it's called Chet's Last Call. All kinds of great bands, Scruffy the Cat, Dogmatics, I'm going to forget a bunch of them now. Barron's Whitfield. We came up all together playing at this place that was, because we were all kind of weird acts at the time. Of course, all those acts I named are pretty much still going. Mighty Bosstones was another one that got started there. So we're all in the documentary talking about the early days kind of stuff. But it was a very wild club because it was in such a strange place, right across from the Boston Garden, but in also sort of bordering a red light district. Downstairs was a place where they sold scalped tickets and took betting. You know, it was basically a mob bar downstairs, a pretty famous mob bar called the Penalty Box. And upstairs had been a strip club. Strip clubs next door. Porno movie theaters next door. This had formerly been a strip club, a small strip club, and they converted it into Boston's first punk rock club called Chet's Last Call.
Wow.
So a really booming scene. A lot of it was because there was many places to play, and a lot of people got started at Chet's because he really wasn't as picky, and he was the youngest club owner in Boston as well, which, as you know, that there was other instances of that in New York or California. You know, the younger club owners were back then were the ones to first accept punk rock and say ska. There was very few ska bands in Boston when we started. There was a band called Dub 7 or 007, and then the Boston's got started shortly after us, Dickie actually had a sort of ska band called the Cheapskates that started a little bit after us, and then Bosstones got started a year or two after us. But that was that was kind of it for ska. There was a good deal of reggae because we had a lot of Haitian immigrants, and the movie The Harder They Come was put on permanent midnight status at one of the theaters in Harvard Square, and you were allowed to smoke. So at midnight, all these people would pour in and just smoke ganja, and from midnight till 2 a.m. and have a blast watching The Harder They Come. It ran for years, so it really helped get people turned on to great ska and reggae. Harder They Come soundtrack is one of my very favorites of all time. Any kind of album, certainly one of my favorite soundtracks. That and Rockers are my favorites.
Cool, man.
I think it's called the Orson Welles Theater. I want to get that right.
Are you going to make it to see the Rockers cast over at Supernova this year?
Unfortunately not, but I'm sure that's a wicked idea, and I love it. I'm curious as to who all will be there. I think Horsemouth died this year, didn't he? Might have been last year. I don't know. I don't know who's still alive, but it sure is a great soundtrack, and whatever songs they do from it, I'm sure will be ripping.
Right.
So yeah, that'll be a big highlight. Last year, my friend Roy Ellis was on the bill. I had the opportunity to do a sort of a duet, a single with him, and John Roy and Roger Rivas. Came out a little over a year ago on Roy Ellis and Friends. It's track 2 on Roy Ellis and Friends. Fantastic band. John Roy, you guys I'm sure know, Smoke and Mirror Sound System, put together this incredible band. Vic Rice on bass, Roger Rivas on organ, and just on and on. Trombone by the Buford. It's just the most amazing all-star band, and of course, and Roy Ellis and myself. And the dogs will bark every once in a while, by the way. I have 3. So I was just really a song by Tony Devenish. I should also say the guitar player Tony Devenish from Revelation, which is a British band who is really great. If you guys don't know of them, you should check them out. They have a new album and a new single mixed by Roger Rivas called Shine Like a Light, which I hope to get onto my next film soundtrack. I really love Revelation. I got to they call it presenter in England. I was the presenter or MC for the big ska festival by Specialized Records. It's called the Big One. I've done it twice, and the second time I did it, I got to see Revelation and hang out with them. We've been working together and writing songs together through the lockdown, and I had never got to see the band or meet Tony yet, so it was pretty cool to finally meet him. But yeah, we're still working together on some stuff. As a matter of fact, they were supposed to be on some of the Europe tours. We have a Europe tour coming up, starting actually next week. We fly April 22, and we're doing 2.5 weeks or something, and then I'm going to England solo to visit Revelation and maybe sit in on a set with them, and hopefully visit my friend Nick, from also known as King Hammond. You guys might know him.
Yeah, I know him quite well.
He's on our last album. We had a lot of guests on the last album because it was all done during the lockdown. Came out in 2021 or 2022, but guests like Nick and Dave Hilliard and Chris Rhodes from the Bosstones and stuff like that. But because of the lockdown, a lot of people had their home studios going and had a fair amount of free time. So we got a bunch of cool guests onto the Sonic Tonic record, which we did for Specialized as well. I've been working with Specialized for, I don't know, maybe 12 years now. They've been going for something like 14, maybe 15 years. They raised money for mostly Teen Cancer Trust, which Roger Daltrey started way back in the 70s, I think. But also mental awareness, musicians funds, a music library for children that can't afford a bass guitar or a violin or whatever it might be. We've amassed a lot of donations and either bought or were donated all these different instruments that children can just take out of the library and use to learn an instrument when their family doesn't have enough money to buy those instruments. And so they do a lot of cool stuff. And the one that's out now that came out I guess it was last year because it came out in November. I compiled. It was the first one. They had a guest compiler. What do you call it? What's the word? Anyway, Paul and I compiled it. Usually it's just Paul and Paul, but this year's it was all takes on 80s songs. Every year there's a different theme. If you guys are familiar with it, check it out on Bandcamp. Specialized Records, Specialized Limited. And there's usually like 60 odd to 70 songs. It's a box set every year. And over the last decade, I've been doing a lot with them and bringing a lot more American and European bands over to the label, which is kind of what they wanted me to do. And it's worked out really well. I even brought the Slackers and the Scatolites and Jeff, the Southern All-Stars, and things like that. A lot. It was initially mostly British bands, but now it's a big mix of some of the compilations have as much as a dozen different countries and stuff, or maybe even more than that on the compilations now. So it's really expanded, and this past one was the most popular of any of them, and it was the 13th. Compiling the 14th one now, and that's coming along really nicely. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say the theme, but it's
I'll announce.
Yeah, or Femme Fatale.
Yeah,
which
I know. Well, because
it's all songs. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, because Mida Goodwin, of course. So Mida asked one of my bands, the Goodwin Club, to actually present the song on there, and we had a song to submit, but it looks like someone else that we already have recorded, someone else may have taken it, so we're not sure if we're actually going to submit anything for it. We had Shake It Off ready to submit, but looks like Redbeard may be doing it. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure Redbeard is. I'm not one of the. Usually I help with some of the tracks. Last year I helped with as much as half the tracks, but I've been hearing stuff about your band more just lately. I'm interested. Is it a very big band?
The Goodwin Club were pretty relevant from 93 to 95 in the Orange County scene. Then they broke up for about 30 years. Then they came back last year, recorded a new album on Wiretap Records, just a 6-song EP. But their sound has been refined. They're a lot more mature in regards to their sound and recording, musicianship. And I recently started managing them a couple weeks ago. So I'm currently booking them for different shows outside of the normal territory here in California. I'm trying to package them with another band called Codename Rocky as well.
How many people are in the Goodwin Club?
It depends. If we're talking about, we have 2 core horns, a trombone, Rich and Jesse that plays sax. I'm sorry, Dean that plays sax. Jesse plays sax too. But 2 core horn, and then the four, of course, the drums, guitar, bass, and singer. So 6 technically, but it could be stretched out to 11 with additional horns. Which
that's why I think I saw something just a few days ago where it looked like there was over 10 people on the stage. So
that was a local show that they did with the Aquabats that Jose and I went to last year, the Aquabats 30th reunion.
I haven't seen the Aquabats in decades, but we used to do shows with them pretty regularly when we would go to California in the 80s. Well, I guess mostly the 90s, might be some late 80s, but mostly the 90s when they were first getting started.
Right. To touch on what you're talking about with Nick Welsh, Nick came here a couple of years. He actually shot up from Mexico And he played one show in Santa Ana that I went to with a couple of my buddies, and his backing band was Tijuana No. So that was pretty awesome to
And
see him play.
so he
What's that?
brought Tijuana No. Where's Tijuana No from?
From
Based out of.
Mexico. Uh-huh.
Okay, so he brought them up with him.
He brought them
Wow.
up to support him on one show, which was just
Well,
amazing.
crazy.
So that was the only
Yeah,
time I
that
got to see King Hammond play.
well, at least you got to see him once.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, he's still going strong.
Yeah, I have a yeah. He sends me a lot of his stuff, which is great. Um, now
I've
Steady
known
Earnest.
him since he first joined Bad Manners back in the late '80s, I
Uh-huh.
think. Yeah, late '80s. Came to stay at my house probably in '89, and we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And then all the stuff he did with Big Five
I'll be
and
seeing him in England. I'll be seeing
Pauline.
him in England
Yeah,
today. Yeah.
yeah. You also have another band that you front, Steady Earnest, which I've only got
There you
two
go.
CDs, but this CD I try
You
to
need
cover up. I try to cover up because this baby freaks me out. Who is this? How did this come about?
there's a bizarre story behind that, actually. Um, a lot of the musicians in Boston, my bass player's name is Mark Ferranti, and
Yeah.
his father had a photography store called Ferranti Daghi in Harvard Square, and a lot of us used to hang around in Harvard Square. But and he gave many musicians a break in that he would hire them. Various Boss Tones and Bimskalabim members worked there, but loads of different bands actually. My brother was printing film just randomly, and even though he wasn't supposed to do it, when he would see something that made him laugh, he would make an extra copy of it and put it in what was called the TED file. Very illegal, very against the rules of that job. But when I saw that, I just thought, oh, that would be perfect for our album cover, which sort of blew it up into even bigger problems. Tony eventually found out when he was in his late 80s. Tony, the owner of the photography store. So we never found out who we never found out who it is or anything. They're 32 years old now, though.
Yeah.
I guess.
He's gonna come back someday and ask for royalties.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Now, can you tell us about the band's songwriting process and how it developed over the years?
Bimskalabim songwriting process is interesting because, Vinny writes songs, Jim writes songs, I write songs. John Cameron writes songs. Our drummer even wrote a couple of songs that we recorded. So, and we always credit everyone. Kind of that's the way our publishing company works, is that we're all credited for all the songs. But somebody comes up with an idea and then brings it to the whole band is really the kind of thing that kind of the way that it goes. And so that, that's kind of, it's Dan's song because he came up with the idea, but as far as the distribution of the money, it's almost an even split regardless of who wrote the song. So we all work on the stuff together. I think that's one of the tricks to us staying together so long, is because we've always been really equal. You could even say democratic, I guess. To the point of exhaustion, really. It's not necessarily the best way to do things, but it turns out it is the best way to keep everybody happy. And that's why we still have, we're still playing shows with 7 original members and stuff like that after 42 years. So
Wow.
I'm pretty stoked about that. And we all still get along pretty well. We used to, of course, be on top of each other way more. Now, we only do between 10 and 20 shows a year, whereas we used to do hundreds of shows a year for many, many years. So it is different, and it is kind of like the way we do it is kind of like we do kind of like a month of what we used to do, do 10 shows all in 3 weeks, And so for that period of 3 weeks, it's kind of like it was all year for nearly 2 decades. So it's kind of like jumping back into the 90s for 3 weeks. Yeah, we literally did 200 shows a year, several years. So
That is a lot.
yeah.
Now, um, so when I was in high school, I graduated in 1991, but in 1990, um, my go-to albums were Toasters, Throw Me Up, English Beats, Special Beat Service, and Bimskalabim's Tuba City.
Awesome.
My friend
With
Leah
with
Walla at
Roland
the
with Roland Alfonso.
yeah, we're gonna get there. um, my friend Leah Walla let me actually borrow that album, the Tuba City. And then I first saw you guys, my first time seeing you guys in 1991 at the Whiskey in in Hollywood on the How's It Going tour, and I'm almost positive Jackie was there as well in attendance at the show.
Jackie played. I think we only played the Whiskey twice, but I'm nearly sure Jackie played both or at least the one.
Right.
Yeah.
I still have my ticket stub from there.
Wow. What year is that?
1991, along with the set list.
Oh, nice.
Wow, cool. One of the shows I remember was with Hepcat, and another one was with Donkey Show, and one was with Skeletones, all friends. When we made good friends, we would tour California once or twice a year, and we got to be friends with a few of those California bands. Unsteady, up tones as well.
Right. In Northern California.
I'm trying to remember the other one. I mentioned four now, but one of the other ones was Crucial DBC. We did some
Yes.
touring. You remember them?
So, yeah, I do. So let me. I'm not sure if you could see the screen here.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So here's that picture that you sent me when the sessions with Roland Alfonso in Tuba City, and look, we've got Cox and Dodd right here.
It's Cox and Dodd's store
Yeah.
in Brooklyn called Music City, and we went there to record Roland's tracks for Tuba City through a microphone that Bob Marley had sung albums on. So that was pretty cool. He had all kinds of stuff like that, pointing out this was his, and he sang through this. And but Roland, I don't know if you ever met Roland, but he was one of the sweetest musicians I've ever toured with, and just so much smiles and love and unity, and just a great vibe, great frequency, quite a man. And he invited us over to his house. And I think it was just Vinny and I who went, though. And they served us, I think, cocoa and cookies. And we sat on the sofa that was covered with the plastic. I don't know if you remember that, but people used to cover their sofas with that plastic.
I do.
I can never forget that part. But his whole family was just so sweet to us. His son wound up being a very famous drummer. He probably still is, and I'm going to forget his name right now because I didn't look it up. But he backed hundreds of Jamaican touring artists. A lot of artists would come to the East Coast without a band because of this band. Maybe one of their names was the Zodiac Band. Maybe Sister Nancy, Sister Carol, on and on. Yellow Man, that would be backed by this band. Roland Alfonso's son was the drummer for.
Yeah,
we used to open a lot more reggae shows than ska shows because there was a lot more. There was just a lot more reggae bands and reggae touring acts going on, and we were cheap, and so we loved opening for reggae bands. So we did a real lot of that. We met a lot of reggae bands that way.
Right. Yeah, I got the opportunity to meet Roland in '92, and when they played in Santa Cruz College at the Kresge College there.
Oh, cool!
And that was awesome. And then I got to meet him again at BB King's in LA, in Universal City, when my friend Luis Correa with Steady Beat booked them, and that was amazing.
Ken had joined by then, I think, because Ken's been in the band
Mhm.
37 years now.
Yeah, yeah. Ken's been there for a while. I don't
Yeah,
believe he was
Ken's a good
at.
friend. Ken's a good friend, and because we're here, I'm in Panama, by the way,
Mhm.
and I have a we call it a retreat. It's not like a resort, but it's cabins on the sea, and a lot of musicians come here to kick back. Or Ken comes for 3 months on his break from the Scatolites touring. He tours pretty hard most of the year, and then he comes here. And he sometimes cooks for the guests, but in general, plays gigs around as well. But in general, takes a rest. We do some recording and stuff,
Mhm.
which we just did with this all-star band for the new Specialized we were just talking about a little while ago. But Joe, you guys know from the West Coast, Joey Altruda from Jump with Joey,
Love Joey.
and I had met him before, but it was ages ago. And we chat though over the years just a little bit, stayed somewhat in touch, but he decided he wanted to come after realizing that I've been here so long, and he's been seeing Ken, and Ken's telling him he's got to come and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
finally came, and he's buying a piece of property. I don't know, four or five doors down, and Ken has since bought a property right directly behind me. So and Patrick from Steady Earnest, we just finished building him a house right next door. So my long-standing dream to turn Bastimentos into the Branson of the Caribbean. Branson is a place where all these older country stars have property and stages and stuff like that. I don't know if you've ever heard
Yeah.
of it, but and it's really happening. So anyway, we went into this. Oh, also, my friend Van Martin, who is now, you might know him from Dub Apocalypse, but he's now in John Brown's Body and doing a lot of touring. Really, really great guitarist. He came to visit. He's been playing places around the Caribbean, mostly in the Virgin Islands, for the last 18 years, and so now he's making Panama one of his annual stops. So this was his first year, and he'll be back next year. But we all went into the studio. They did some gigs. I sat in with them, but they're called the Space Cadets, and it's Joey, Van, Ken, and a local drummer, and they're just this really great band that only happens here in Panama. So
Mhm.
anybody who wants to come visit, it's usually in February and March that with January, February, March that Ken is here. So they'll be getting together again next year at some point. So
Well, I wish I would have known. I was in Costa Rica in November. I could have just shot right down to Panama.
yeah, we're actually only officially 12 miles from the Costa Rica border.
Yeah.
And we used to take boats there. You're not supposed to cross international whatever lines without certain permits, but we used to do it regularly. But we had to stop. We would just go to Costa Rica for a weekend for fun, and then because I'm not officially a citizen, I have to leave to fix my visa every 6 months. So sometimes we'll just go to Costa Rica for a few days or a few weeks to fix my visa because it's nice and close. And
Right.
Puerto Viejo is the closest beach town, and it's a pretty fun town.
Yeah.
It's
Let's.
gotten really expensive over the 22 years I've been here, but Panama prices have gone up as well. But
Right.
we're still much more reasonable than Costa Rica
Mm-hmm.
as far as food and rent and stuff like that.
Well, I don't know if you could see
But it
this, but
certainly is similar.
here's a picture of you and Joey.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So that was from that video
that's
that
at
you
a local
posted.
bar
Right. Right.
on the next island over. One of the things about this archipelago is that it's nine big islands and thousands of small ones, and it's really fun because they're close enough together. So we take a boat to this club on one island, then we'll take a boat to this club on another island, and it's really fun that way, and different. And this one happens to be on the smaller island in between the two bigger islands, Caranero. It's called BB's on the Beach, and Ken usually does a couple of gigs there every year. And then there's other clubs in Bocas, and this is more the island that I'm on. Bastimentos is, let's see, they call Bocas, or is the Cologne, the mall, and Bastimentos Jurassic Park, because it's that different. We're over a third national park, and on the water, there's a national park that's as big as the island, water conservation area. So it's we have a few villages here, but mostly the island is national park, which is really pretty cool. So we have a lot of wildlife and a lot of diversity. And it's a still really beautiful place in that the water's clear, and we still have a lot of fish and a lot of birds and all that, and sloths.
Yeah. But you haven't seen any dinosaurs yet, right?
Well, I always say we have a little dinosaur living under the house. His name is Dino, but he's some kind of lizard, but he has that thing that comes out here. It's like, he's only about this big, but boy, he looks about as much like a dinosaur as you're gonna look.
let me share some of these finish up on these flyers here. This was another show when you played out here in Los Angeles. It was you guys, King Apparatus
in Canada,
of course, with your buddy Chris Murray, and the Toasters. That was a good show. We've also got another one here. This was the one that you guys played with Crucial DBC in Santa Barbara.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And here's a little flyer that your band sent me back in the early 90s of your shows before you came out.
Oh, the West Coast shows. Yeah, I remember one of the shows. I believe it was with the Meditations and Crucial DBC in Santa Ana. I could be wrong about where the location was, but it was awesome. We got to meet them, and we're big fans, so that was cool. Oh yeah, there you go, Skeletones, Skank and Pickle.
Yeah, that was Skeletones, the Specs, and Skank and Pickle with you guys. That was the 1991 show at the Whiskey.
Okay, all right.
So
we did play the Whiskey twice, because one time was definitely with Hepcat.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Sorry. Okay, go ahead, Jose. I know that was a long
one. So it's all right. Your music blends ska with calypso, soul, jazz, and even pop. Was that hybrid sound planned, or did it just happen?
We always wanted to be a band that mixed Caribbean sounds with soul and rhythm and blues and rock and calypso. So yeah, I guess so. I mean, some of the first songs we were playing out were mixes of rock and ska, mixes of calypso and ska. So yeah, and certainly reggae as well was a big influence. Like I tell people, when we put out our first album, there was, I don't know, maybe 10 songs on the album, and 3 of them were reggae songs. And reggae radio shows were a thing. Ska radio shows were not. There weren't even any, I don't think. So we would get, when the first airplay that we got was for our reggae songs on reggae shows, and people even thought that we were an all reggae band, and even thought that we were an all black reggae band. So back in the mid 80s, people didn't expect us, kind of thing. Like I say, you can't swing a cat without hitting a white reggae band at this point. But back then there wasn't many poor white kids trying to pull off reggae, and it was acceptable. I mean, one of the great things about meeting the Scatolites and playing with them as early as 1986 was that they accepted us so well. They, to the point where they were really happy about what we were doing, and that helped give us the confidence that we're doing the right thing, because they it meant a lot to them to continue the music, and they had no concern about what color we were. There's no talk of appropriating their style or anything like that. Their vision was that ska can never dead, and that the music has to continue. And seeing us young guys do it, and they liked us, it was really, really helpful to us to stay together this long. That's what they wanted. They outright told us, please help. Ska can never dead, and if you need our help, we'll help you. And I'm like, okay, Roland, will you play on our next album then? And that's how that happened. And he said, yeah, right away.
Cool,
We did.
cool.
I don't think we drove out to New York specifically to go to Brooklyn. I think we had a gig at CBGB's, and we just stayed an extra day or something like that to go to Brooklyn to record with Roland.
Mm. So how was that recording process like with him?
Like I said, it was incredible because he played his sax through through an old microphone that Bob Marley and Peter Tosh had sang into and stuff, and Jimmy Cliff. So that was just that's like it was like being in a museum, really. One of the other things that comes to mind is though he didn't just sell vinyl, he would sell weed in these little bags. Yeah, I think he was probably pushing 60 and still making probably more money selling weed than selling records because it was ska. I would go to Jamaica every year, and I'd have bring cassettes and albums with me and stuff, and go to the record stores, and a lot of times they'd buy them, but they'd say that that's what we call old man's music here, because this is the 80s and 90s, and to Jamaicans that's music of their fathers or grandfathers from the late 60s and early 70s. So yeah, interesting. I didn't realize that until I got to Jamaica. I went to Jamaica every year for many years, and I wanted to live there, but I found out how difficult it was to buy property, especially to have it titled. And one of the ways I learned that was that Peter Tosh and Keith Richards had a big falling out, and Peter Tosh just took Keith Richards' house, which he was minding for him, in Jamaica. So you can't title your property properly in Jamaica, so it can be taken away by the person that's guarding your house or somebody who squats on it. But so I found this place finally after looking all around the Caribbean, or many places around the Caribbean. I found this place, and the moment I set foot here, I realized that this is where I belong. And they had great love for reggae and soca and calypso here. And strangely enough, it's a Spanish-speaking country, but this island, even the schools where Calypso Joe grew up, when he grew up here, they were teaching them in English. It transferred to Spanish somewhere in the 80s, I guess. So loads of people here speak a patois that's very similar to Jamaican patois. That's also why Ken loves it, because he understands it all, and they like that. A lot of people will go to Jamaica and can't understand the patois, but if you go enough, or if you meet enough reggae musicians or Jamaican musicians, you will start to pick it up. And Ken and I are pretty good at it by now. I'm better at it than my Spanish, that's for sure. So it's pretty cool to live here. It's kind of, Ken says it's like Jamaica 30, 40 years ago, and I tend to agree with that.
Yep.
So it's a pretty cool place. I'm on the island Bastimentos in Panama on the Caribbean side, and I run a place that has several rooms and cabins for rent, and I have a lot of musicians coming here for sort of retreat type of stuff, as well as writers coming to work on their books, and photographers, and a lot of artists. So that's kind of how we developed it over the last 22 years. And it's a perfect place for that, because there's a lot of nature, and the sound of the ocean. I don't know if you can hear it from here, but it's very calming to be this close to the waves. And a lot of people just relax or start to get in a different mindset pretty quickly once they're here.
You just got to stay away from the
Nice.
crocodiles.
We don't. We don't have crocodiles. We have little caiman, though. Then they're usually only about that big.
Yeah.
Um, and I've never heard of anybody being bit by them. And and we have there are sharks as well, but mostly they're mud sharks and sharks. But
Like
there's
the band.
also but no one has been. Oh yeah, sharks. I did a track with them,
Uh-huh.
and had them on one of the compilations that I put together, which is called there you go, Joint Ventures in Ska.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I that one's pretty rare,
I'm
it's
telling you,
not
I'm a Bim
it's
nerd,
not
dude.
up Bandcamp or it sold out long ago, but I love that record.
Yeah, because
We
Steady Earnest was
inside
on it also.
inside it had a lot of the credits were on hemp paper, which I thought was pretty cool at the time. And the guys from High Times, we played. There still is an annual Freedom Festival in Boston on the Boston Commons, and it's one of the main sponsors is High Times magazine. And when we did the festival, we made friends with the High Times guy and guys plural, and gave them a bunch of those. And next thing we knew, a few months later, #1 in High Times.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, at the time, there certainly weren't a lot of compilations that were dealing with just ganja, so it was one of the first of its kind.
Oh, and it's got just amazing tracks. Scofflaws. You're one of the old bands from the East Coast, Freedom of Expression, Skinnerbox, Bad Manners, Bucko Nine, Steady Earnest, Judge Dredd, Porkers, Bim, Magadog, Johnny Sacco, of course, the Mud Sharks, the Hot Knives, of course, and Selector from England, both of those.
Yep, with Nick.
Yep.
That's right around when Nick joined the Selector. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was in the Selector, Big Five, King Hammond, Bad Manners. He's been in everything basically.
Yeah, two men and a black. I think it maybe was called too.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, mem, yeah, yeah. It's another super group, I guess you would call it.
Yep. Jose.
what was some of the biggest influence, both ska and non-ska?
For me, early on, as even maybe like, a teenager, I got turned on to an old Bob Marley record called Shakedown Party, Soul Shakedown Party, because it was a cutout at Woolworths or something like that. And I loved it. I think I bought it for $1.99 or $2.99 or something. So that was an early influence in ska for me. But then I started to learn. I didn't know what ska was, though. I didn't know the word. But then I heard some Joe Jackson on the radio, and I heard some Elvis Costello on the radio, and went out and bought their albums and wore them out. And then I realized, and then shortly after that, Elvis produced the Specials' first album, so I got way into that from there. So it's kind of that's the progression of that.
Cool. Now, in 2021, Bimskalabim minus Dan Vitale, but with John Bunkley from Gangster Fund, played Supernova Ska Festival out in Virginia. Were you already living on the island by that time? Is that why you couldn't be there?
I've been here 22 years.
That's why.
So, yeah, no, that's not why. That's just I've been here 22 years. I was stuck on the island at that time. It was still a lot of lockdown stuff still going on here.
That's right.
To get in and out of the country, and so instead of I also broke my ankle very close to, which wouldn't have stopped me, but the certain things that they wanted me to do in order to travel, I wasn't willing to do. So that's what that comes down to. And I'll just be honest with you.
Understandable.
Now, on the album, The One That Got Away, you have a couple songs with Mad Professor. How did that collaboration come about, and how was it working with them? There you go.
We only spoke on the phone.
Hmm.
He's somebody that my friend Ken knows personally, but it was set up by a guy named Mark Dickinson, the owner of Beatville Records. So, and one thing that isn't known very well is that he did 5 tracks. We only released 2 of them. 3 of them
Oh,
remain unreleased. So he did
oh,
5 remixes. He did 5 remixes, I should say, and we only released 2 of them, and 3 remain unreleased. And I'm not even sure if we have them or not, but Mark probably does.
Now, in the early
But
days,
yeah,
oh, sorry.
okay, cool, cool.
So in the early days,
in the early days,
yeah, you shared vocals with Jackie Starr, and then she left to come to California. She joined the Donkey
no,
Show.
well, actually, I have to correct you there
Oh, sorry.
because that would be leaving Lauren out. There was a woman on the first album, a woman named Lauren Flesher, was the female singer. Lauren left to start her own band, um, and not so far after that, we got Jackie, who was only with us maybe 3 years, and then left to go to California to start her own band.
Got it. Got it. And then you and her recently released a song, holiday song, Best Gift. How did that whole thing come about? And can we expect any more music from that joint venture with you and Jackie?
Um, okay, there you go. That's a good one because um, Jackie said, "You want to work on a song together?" I got an idea, and she sent me a horn line and a chord progression, and I did the words and melody. And we knew we wanted to do a holiday song, but didn't want it to be too corny. So it had to be a little corny, but I think it came out really kind of great. But I guess you didn't notice that the last single that Bimskalabim put out is called Gimme Some. If you go to bimskad.com, it's right on the first page. And it's Jackie and reuniting with Bimskalabim.
Oh, how did I miss that?
And I think it's one of our very best tracks in decades. It's actually a cover of a pretty obscure song called "Gimme Some," and it's got a really cool feel to it, and I absolutely love the song. It's a little Motown influence, soul influence, but it was actually a disco hit in 1977. Not a big hit, a very minor hit. Most people do not remember the song at all. Some ska aficionados know the song because it was covered by Byron Lee and the All Stars. And that's how I knew it. I thought it was an old Jamaican ska song. But Byron Lee and the All Stars, they must have recorded it in the late 70s, and it wound up on some compilation that I got. I mean, if you're as old as I am, you remember that finding ska records from Jamaica was pretty difficult. And the ones that you could find, there was, maybe only a dozen, maybe 2 dozen. It just was very difficult to find them. But that was one of them, and I can't remember the title of it either. It came up missing from my house at some point. But a Byron Lee and the All Stars album, if you could find their version of "Give Me Some," that's how I knew the song. And anyway, I think it came out great. Go to bimskad.com and you can check that out. That's our latest single.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed that. I was just on the website last night looking at that because I was
I think
looking at. I was
you
looking
like
at.
it. Well, it's a big picture of Jackie and Jim, and it's like the first or second picture down, or maybe even the first. So it's right there. You can't miss it.
Okay, I think I was on the videos because I was looking at the Gumbo song, and seeing you in that, and then that the one question I was going to ask is that's actually how you're living these days of what's
That's
that
right.
Gumbo?
That's right
That's the
here.
vibe.
That's right here. That's all shot at my parts are all shot at my house.
Yeah.
Vinny's parts were all shot at his house. Jim's parts are shot at his house. Remember, this is the lockdown 2021. So that's how we made the videos. Another interesting thing about that album that I kind of like is that he's now my friend after working together for so long. We've only met a couple times, but Paul Iris from the Specialized group and I made videos, mostly Paul, for every song on Sonic Tonic. Well, I shouldn't say every song because Jack Sherman, who does most of the BIM videos, did 2 of them. Tom Haney, who is a puppeteer, did 1 of them. But so Paul probably did six videos. So it's the only album that I think it's cool because the only album that we made where every song on the album has a video. And somebody else did that, but I'm glad we did it because I like the idea. Some are better than others, of course. Some had 0 budget and some had decent budget.
Now, what was it like being part of the rise of the third wave ska? Did it feel like a movement at that time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of the first conversations that Buck and I had were that this is we want to make this into our own dance craze kind of thing, or two-tone movement, but an American one. And in between New York and Boston and around New England, that's the Toasters and Bimskalabim got it started. We would do a lot of the shows together. As a matter of fact, we would bring them to the channel and they would bring us to CBGBs and things like that. Went on for years. But we were also the first to make local ska compilations. First Rob put out New York Beat, which is a ska compilation of all New York bands. And then I put up Mash It Up, which is a ska compilation of all Boston bands, Boston area bands. And for both of us at the time, we had to, that's the Mashing Up the Nation. That's the one.
That's right. You did, Matt. That's right.
All American bands. We actually wound up doing 5 Mash It Ups. When it's just Mash It Up, that means it's all Boston. We actually wound up doing 5 compilations, all of which are solid and still hold up, I think. Lots of the bands like Big D and the Kids Table, nobody knew who they were at all when they came out on Mash It Up, and now they're a big band. Mm-hmm. And same with when you say Skinnerbox and stuff like that. I don't know if you know, but that's Jeff from Stubborn All Stars and Jeff from King Django. So a lot of us have been working together since the late 80s.
So the Mash It Up was the Mash It Up released on Stubborn Records or DVS?
DVS.
It was on DVS. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
We only started. We probably gave Jeff some tracks for compilations over the years, because Buck did compilations. I did compilations. I did the Mashing Up the Nation compilations. There's 4. Mash It Up, there's 5. Joint Ventures is another one. The Shack is a compilation that I contributed to, but also licensed from a British label. If you get a chance to listen to The Shack, there's a lot of great stuff on that one.
A lot of international bands on that one.
Sean Flowerdew and myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many compilations that is that I've done. Maybe as much as a dozen. But Bim has been on, I don't know, something like 40 or 50 compilations over the years. I definitely can't name them all.
Yeah, I actually have some of them. I have the
those when they went. Yeah, when our label in England, Roddy decided that he wanted to put out Mash It Up. He changed the title and so Volume 1 was the New York Beat. Volume 2 is they go 1 and 2. Yeah.
So this one has 1 and 2.
The first Mash It Up is just Boston, but he also did Mashing Up the Nation, I think, too, didn't he?
Let me see. It was Razor.
Roddy Moreno of Oyster Records. Yeah, well, that one's on Razor. That's the American label. I'm
Yeah,
talking about the
I
British label,
have.
which was
Yeah, that's right. And then, of course, Scarface.
there. You go. That's Rob's second compilation, I believe, the one directly after New York Beat, and I think we're on that one too. Yeah,
Yeah,
where they got No
you guys
Doubt
put
and
shoes on that one.
Citizen.
Yeah, that's
Oh, right.
oh, Chris from the Citizens did the layout, and Bucket produced it. This one's on Moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then this
Yeah, we did a few comps on Moon. Oh, right, Live in London. Yeah, that one
Live in
I'd
London, and
forgotten
then
about that one, but
it's got you guys
that was
right right
we
there.
were we weren't the first American ska band to go over. If you count Untouchables as a ska band, we were the second, and we went over in 88, and we our first show we got to open for Prince Buster, and it was
Nice.
amazing, completely sold out, and NME had this big article about us, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, we're more popular in England than we are at home, and it was pretty cool.
And then
Of
this
course,
one
nothing big came up about what.
I have the whole set of these on records, all 5 volumes, and then this is just the CD I like to listen to. But
Ah,
you guys submitted Bangin' on there.
okay. I forgot what label is that one.
Oh, these are all Unicorn. Oh no, I'm sorry. This
Unicorn.
one was
Yeah.
Unicorn was the records. This was Scaloid. This
Okay,
was
that Scaloid.
Scaloid.
Scaloid is quite a story. Scaloid is quite a story because they uh okay, let's see. They were called Celluloid, and they were known for, the Golden Palominos and Fela Kuti's son, and they had a strong label, but they decided to start a ska label, and the Toasters and Bim were the first two bands that they signed. And crazy part of the story is they also simultaneously put out an album of lambada songs, and the lambada went through the roof, and the lambada started selling so much that they put all their focus into that rather than the Toasters and Bimskalabim's new album. They sold millions of the lambada stuff, so we just got lost.
Oh,
And though over the years, I can't remember that guy's name right now, the label, licensed our record and Toaster's record to all kinds of people around the world, and totally didn't pay us or give us any kind of book work whatsoever,
oh man.
and we still haven't. So we had a real bad taste in our mouth on our second album there, because we put a lot of work into it. It probably was our most expensive album. We worked with Jimmy Miller, a famous producer, for several of the tracks on Tuba City, as well as Roland Alfonso and some other famous producers. Jimmy Miller is known for being the producer of Traffic and Rolling Stones, and a very famous producer who became our friend, and especially my friend, over the years. But anyway, one of the reasons it was the most expensive album is because we wasted a lot of time just listening to Jimmy's stories about the Rolling Stones and Eric Clapton and stuff. But it was definitely our most expensive album. Things cost a lot more back then. You had to, if you wanted a good studio and a good producer, you were spending thousands of dollars a day, and you took weeks and months to make records. So it was a very different scene than it is now.
And this was the
Whereas now,
this is the English version of Scarface.
there you go.
When
That came out on Oi Ska.
Yeah, this is on Skank actually. Skank Records, which I
Skank. There's another one.
there's
Lowell, who also signed the first offshoot of Madness, which is called the Nutty Boys. Our album came out at the same time. Lowell was another label. Lowell just passed last year, but Skank Records.
Yeah, I pretty much have everything on Unicorn, Skank, Blue Beat, all that stuff. Here's the CD of the Machination. This
Yeah,
is
I
hand to you.
I I remember when Dougie, I call him Dougie, Buster Blood Vessel, bought the right to use the name Blue Beat Records. He was very, very excited that, and reissued some of the stuff. There's also when they, around the same area of time, they hooked up with Laurel Aiken and recorded. Bad Manners recorded their own version of Laurel's song Sally Brown, and it became a minor hit. So started bringing Laurel around to tour with them. And when we brought them to America, well, when I brought them to America, I actually booked their tour in '89. We called it the Three Generations of Ska Tour because it was Laurel Aiken, Bad Manners, and Bimskalabim.
Yeah.
And it was really all kinds of stories from that one. I can't even get started. But probably the biggest story is that Laurel went home before finishing the tour because some financial arguments not with me, who was the one paying them, but with Bad Manners. So Laurel missed the West Coast shows, so you might remember that. I don't know.
We had to just backtrack a little. We had Curtis Meacham from Monkey on a couple weeks ago, and he was telling us about some stories with Roland Alfonso's recording with them, and his procurement of many of the different many. I think he requested 30 copies of the album when it came out, and they were looking at each other, going, "Why do you need so many?" He said, "Because I have so many grandchildren."
Oh,
that was a hoot.
That's no problem if he wanted that, but he does have a big family.
Yeah. I think it's you, Jose.
Yeah. Now you did touch about you have a show coming up or tour in Europe in April, right? You'll be hitting Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland. Now, who will you be playing with, and how did that tour come about?
The tour came about because 11 years ago we played the Freedom Sounds Festival, and it was early on in the Freedom Sounds Festival. It might have even been their second or third year, and Pete got us over there, and we did a tour. And some of the shows were really great, and we'd been talking about going back, from the get-go, but it finally they made us an offer. I don't know, 6-8 months ago, and we took it and built a tour around it with a lot of help from Pete, as a matter of fact. But we did it without a booking agent this time, which is really hard. We have one agent in the Netherlands, which is why we have 3 shows in the Netherlands, 3 shows in Germany. So let's see, the Freedom Sounds Festival, April 25, and that's got some great bands on it. The Dub Moans, which is a guy who lives in West Coast, Junior Francis, you guys probably see fairly regularly. He'll be there. But then the Delights, which is a band that I really like. Dave Hilliard will be there with the Rocksteady 7. So that's going to be a great. I think there's, I don't know, about 20 bands over the 2 days. And then we go to the Queer Beat Festival, which is in an unpronounceable area of Germany. And we did that 11 years ago as well.
Waldenhausen.
There you go.
Something
Under
like
Waldenhausen.
Oh, wow. That's a lot better than mine.
Under Waldenhausen. And we played that 11 years ago as well, so we're going back to that. And also on this tour is the Scod for Life Festival, and Dr. Ringding is on that with us, and I'm forgetting the other bands. What was it?
Oh, he's from El Paso.
Do you remember any other? Oh yeah, that show is sold out. And then we're doing some sort of, the pretty big show in Switzerland at Auxil. And I'm not sure who the openers are. I know they're openers, but I'm not sure who they are. some band was just talking about how they were opening one of the shows, and I've forgotten their name. Let's see. We're also playing the Skiff, which is in Hilversum. So we have 3 shows in the Netherlands. The other one is the Skiff, and Metropole is the first show of the tour. In Germany, we're also in Mannheim at the Cult, and we're also, well, that's the 3 in Germany, yeah. And then Switzerland. Oh, in Belgium, in a place called the Mule, or Brassier des Mules. And we love Belgium, and we had a great time there at it was called Groot's Fest or something like that. When we played 11 years ago, it was an awesome time. So we really wanted to go back to Belgium. So this guy Nico was bringing us back over there. It's only 8 shows, maybe 9, because somebody's asking us to do another one, sort of a secret show. We might do it or we might not.
Nice.
But I can't help but say this is probably our last time over there. So if any of your audience wants to spread the word, I really think chances are really low that we'll be getting back over to Switzerland or Germany again. Where I'm in my mid-60s and retired, and so we will probably continue to do shows, but we'll see. Going to Europe has gotten pretty difficult, but we're looking forward to it.
In the Freedom Sounds Festival, are you guys playing with the Deltones and Potato 5? Are they on that show?
I don't think Potato 5 are on, but geez,
Because
I don't know. I
think last year they played, and I know Potato 5 released that 7-inch, which I was lucky to get a copy because I had a friend that went there.
I might be getting this wrong, but there might be Mick, is it, from Potato 5 is going to be performing? So one of the members.
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's the whole band.
No, Hot Knives. One of the members of Hot Knives, excuse me. Mick, I believe, yeah. Anyway, and I think there might be a band that's doing a set of covers of one of those bands that you mentioned.
Yeah. When you said the Scott for Life Festival, that reminded me of that's Scato's album, or Scotto's album from the UK.
Vaguely remember that.
That was when I think that's when Skank Records was releasing all the Invisible Sky Years with Arthur Kay, the Scottoons. I don't know if there was a Loafers one. I don't think there was a Loafers one because the Flowerdew brothers. But that was
we did some shows with Sean, and back when there were the Loafers, but as well with the Special Beat.
Yeah, I saw them. They were here. They played at the Riverside in the Hop in 1990. I got to see them. That was awesome. All right.
Yeah, and his brother Kevin has a band called the Bake Seas, but he also has the longest running ska zine in the world. So
Do the Dog.
It's pretty amazing how long he's been at that.
Yeah, I stay in touch with him sometimes.
He's a good one to stay in touch with, especially if you have stuff that you want reviewed.
Oh, definitely. Let's talk about the New England Ska Summit show and the movie that you had a couple years back. You had the Hempsteadies on it, the Copacetics, El Grande, and Ricky Rocksteady. These are all the bands from around the newer bands from around the Boston. Can you tell us how that whole thing came about?
Yeah, those are the bands that played live, but in the film, there's also many other bands, like the Scatolites or the Allstonians, or on and on. Great classic clips from Allstonians and Scatolites, and even Prince Buster, and Laurel Aitken. One of the reasons, the Laurel Aitken connection, well, I was the first one to bring him to America, but the Allstonians, he continued to come to America, but the Allstonians, a Boston band, would support him in the I guess late 80s, early 90s on the tours. He came back for several times for several tours, and When we first brought him and Bad Manners brought him, and we did that 3 Generations of Ska tour, pretty much nobody knew who Laurel Aitken was, but they quickly learned a lot of his songs. And Sally Brown, Bad Manners cover of Sally Brown really kind of helped get that started. And everyone realized what a great back catalog Laurel had. And, by the 3rd or 4th time he came to America, it was a whole different story. They were giving him horrible billing because they didn't even know who he was when he first came over.
Yeah, I remember that album that Sally Brown was on when that first came out, the Return of the Ugly album. That was just an amazing comeback.
Really great.
Bad Manners.
It really was. And Nick had a lot to do with that. I'll say that. I don't know if anybody even talks about that, but he came in and took over kind of as head songwriter for that album. And he had a lot of back catalog stuff that he had written under the name King Hammond, actually. He had King Hammond album out before he joined the Bad Manners, pretty much. But, a very prolific songwriter for Bad Manners, for Selector, and so forth, and for King Hammond. But, yeah, it was a really strong comeback album. I totally agree with you.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. I remember back in, it was 90 or 91 when Bad Manners came through here, and I lived with my girlfriend at the time, and then her roommate had brought home the Barry sax player. I think his name was Matt or something. I don't remember.
Okay.
That day. From there, I wasn't sure if he was a regular or it's just that he was a touring Barry sax player at the time, but I just thought it was pretty funny, to bring musicians home at that time for some of the fans.
When we toured with them, Vinny would pretty much play their set on trombone, and oftentimes John would play sax and even keyboards with them when we toured with them to make the band bigger and better. Those were great times. We have some cool recordings of that in the film that I didn't mention. Some live Bad Manners from back in 1988 or 89 with Vinny and John, as part of Bad Manners band.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the England Ska Summit film as well, which you can get on Tubi or Amazon or YouTube TV, YouTube movies, or Fossum TV. A lot of different things. Most people watch it on Tubi, I think.
Yeah, that's where I saw it on Tubi.
Yeah. Did it have a lot of commercials? That's a good one. Did it have a lot of commercials?
It did.
You want to know something bizarre? I watch it here in Panama. 0 commercials. It just runs. I guess that means we don't get paid either, but you can watch it for. but it's just the weirdest thing. I'm talking to my friends about it. It's like, geez, how are they going to pay us anything if they're not?
Yeah.
I thought Tubi was all about the commercial breaks, but no, it just runs straight through here in Panama. I have no idea why.
Real quick, before Jose's question, I'm looking at Jose's background, and wasn't that was originally released as, wasn't it Fathead and Edge of a Knife?
That was one of our first singles, maybe even our first single, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, you had Fathead and Edge of a Knife, I think, and this is Run Joe with Rain and something else. Other way, yeah.
Wait.
Run Joe, Bring It On Home.
Oh, okay. What is that on?
I think that's a 7-inch somewhere that you guys released. I don't know how many years ago. Maybe that's a bootleg you don't know about.
I have to think about it. Yeah, it's not. Okay, so what? Oh no, that's the 40th anniversary 45 that matches the original 45. We had the same artist do the artwork. I see it behind Jose.
That's
all right. Now I know.
Okay,
40th anniversary. I thought you were talking about old stuff. That just came out last year or whatever.
Well, that did, but yeah, it reminded me of the old 7-inch with Fathead.
Exactly what it was supposed to do. Yeah, the same artist. We told him to make it look like a matching set with 40 years in between, basically, something like that. Yeah.
The original was black and white. This one's green, or a lime green.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And his name is Sluggo. His name is Sluggo. And that leads me to we still work with a lot of people that we worked with for so many years. People, artists as well that design our album covers and lay them out, like Alan Yarborough and Sluggo. But Sluggo is also just finished. Well, it's about to come out, so he finished it a few months ago. We have a Best of Bim 3-volume series coming out on Jump Up Records, and volume 1, which covers our first 3 albums and a bonus track, comes out any minute, and we're bringing it to Europe with us, and we're debuting it in America at the show May 17th in Davis Square at Crystal Ballroom. So that's kind of some new stuff. It's our first American, best of idea to do. It was actually Pete Clem's idea to do it. He's like, "Oh, it'd be great if you guys had some new material out." So we put out the single, but then we decided on an album. We were going to do a dub mixes album from over the years, dub mixes of various songs, but Chuck came out and said, "Yeah, I want to do a best of." So we decided to do that, and volume 1 out of 3 comes out really soon.
Yeah, we just interviewed Chuck last week, and he was telling us about that.
Oh, cool.
And but you guys, your first greatest hits comp was American Playhouse, wasn't it?
That was British only comp, and it was only 3 out of 5 or 6 records at the time, so it was very weird. That wasn't our idea at all. It was the label's idea, sort of like what UB40 did for their first American release. If you're familiar with that, sort of the best of 3 of their recent albums that never came out in America, and that's sort of what we did. Our first 2 albums came out in England, and then I think for albums 3, 4, and 5, they did that instead of individual albums. So and that was Lowell. I have to say, I came out to a different cabin, and I didn't bring my charger, which is acting really badly, and my computer just told me that the battery is low.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know. I don't think we'll get cut off, but I think we may only have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I just want to point out that on the Wikipedia page, I learned that the band has won 10 Boston Music Awards, 8 Boston Phoenix Readers Poll Awards, a Boston Magazine Best of Boston twice, and 2014 Reggae Steady Ska Best Live Band and first 7 Vinyl of the Year. How does it feel winning all those awards?
It's pretty cool. I think you might have left one out of that. I thought was one of the cooler ones. Was we're in the top 20. But we were named as one of the top 20 Boston albums of all time.
Oh,
and I'm like, what?
Okay.
So there's so much talent in Boston, certainly not just ska and reggae, all kinds of different music. So we were pretty thrilled on that one. We were number 20 in the top 40 of Boston all-time best albums. Bones.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, it's nice to be recognized. I have to say that back in the 80s and 90s, we really didn't have that much competition in the ska and reggae categories. Especially you're in Boston, there's 1,000 rock bands and there's a dozen at best ska bands, and we were one of the first. So certainly wonderful to, and we had a lot of fun.
Let me touch on Sonic Tonic. What brought you to such an iconic American ska label as Jump Up Records and Chuck Wren? Because I know he was thrilled to release Sonic Tonic and with these new volumes. Tell us about how that all came to fruition, if you're still there. I think Dan's gone.
I think he is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's Dan. There's his picture. I don't know. We might have to stop this one here because I think we lost him. Okay, so the questions that we were going to ask him, what was that one? I was going to ask also whose current favorite ska bands are. We're going to ask what his favorite Bimskalabim album is and why. Any upcoming plans to tour on the West Coast uh, and what the future holds for Bimskalabim. Jose, what would have been your questions?
I was just going to ask how did it feel a kinship with the other bands like the Toasters, Fishbone, and Big Fish and Mighty Mighty Bostos back in the day. You know, yeah.
Any other questions?
Um,
Might as well get them out now in
just
case you can
looking
hear.
back, what was the most proud moment of the band? Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah. And if someone's never heard of their music, what song you'd tell them to listen to it first and why?
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Are you guys back?
Oh, he's
Oh, look,
back!
he's back. He is back.
Yeah.
He's taking him back. We're we were we were asking we were telling each other the
I'm
questions that we were going to
I'm
ask
in a
you if we
different
lost you.
place. You were asking each other if you knew the answers.
Yeah, we were asking, we were telling our audience the questions that we had to ask you. If you know but we lost you. But let's go. Let's go. We're so glad you're back. Thank you.
Yes.
I
Um,
had to go. I had to go to a different cabin where my charger is. It's not working right, so I can't really unplug it from where it is. But
okay.
I need a new charger.
Now
But
let's.
I'm back in a more boring background.
No, that's okay. We appreciate you being
Okay.
back.
Yes.
Um, so let's talk a little bit Sonic Tonic and the upcoming 3 album best of that Chuck's going to release on Jump Up Records. What brought you to such an iconic American ska label such as Jump Up, and how has it been dealing with Chuck Wren? Because I know he's an amazing dude.
Um, let's see. I'm trying to remember. Okay, we been friends with Chuck for the longest time. In that he DJ'd at our shows over the years and would go visit him, and he'd come see us and stuff like that. But I'm gonna say in 2018, when most of the shows were with the Dropkick Murphys.
Mm.
We were doing a 3-week tour, but we would play the nights off as well. And we were in St. Louis. Maybe Blueberry Hill is the name of
Yep,
the venue.
the
And,
festival.
Chuck came to, Chuck had talked to me, and I said, sure, you can have a table at the show. And he came, and he said, you guys have never put Bones on vinyl. I'd like to put Bones out on vinyl for you. So I think we were eating dinner together. And so everybody was there. And so that was pretty easy. For Bimskalabim, it was pretty easy because everybody was there at the dinner table, and everybody agreed right away to let Chuck not repress, to press Bones on vinyl for the first time.
Mhm.
Our first album was on vinyl. Our second album was on vinyl. Our third album was on vinyl. But Bones' fourth album was when everything was CDs and cassettes. So it hadn't happened. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing was that we donated our album Sonic Tonic to Specialized for all of Europe and England. And but we made a deal with Chuck made a deal with Specialized to put it out in America on vinyl, and he sent a good amount of vinyl to England, so the British could have it on vinyl as well. So that's sort of how that happened. And so this is I'm forgetting the single that you remembered for our 40th anniversary 2 years ago. We did a 45 with 3 cover songs that I don't think are available on anything else other than that 45.
Hmm.
And so I think it's a weird version of Run Joe, Bring It On Home, and Rain, which is on a compilation album called Boston Does the Beatles. My friend AJ and Mickey put together back in the late 80s. So they're older tracks for sure.
Hmm. Now, did you feel kinship with other bands like the Toasters, Fishbone, and even later ones like Rubik Fish and the Mighty Mighty Bosstones?
Well, Mighty Mighty Bosstones are like my little brothers, and they know that, and we came up together in many ways, did many shows together over the years. Toasters, maybe even more so. They were our New York pals. We would play. They would bring us to CB's. We would bring them to the channel. Rob and I would talk. We gotta let's. I'm doing a all New York ska compilation. You should do an all Boston ska compilation. I'm like, okay, yeah. We a lot of the things that we did right together for those years, because there weren't that many of us. The touring ska bands, a dozen, all across the whole country, really. In the mid '80s, it was very slim pickings. The Good Guys was a great one from the DC or Virginia area. Donkey Show was pretty early on for the West Coast. Of course, Untouchables and Fishbone, but Toasters and Bim and Skinner Box. There just wasn't that many more than that, though. I mean, there just really wasn't. Not in the mid '80s, anyway. So we all got along. I mean, we bonded instantly. We also bonded pretty instantly with the British bands that came over that we opened for, because they were very curious, and interested. Is ska going to catch on in America? Because it really never did, like it did in England. So that was very interesting for them. They were interested in us.
Well, this band we still love seeing.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the time.
There's probably the longest run. They have a lot of original members still, so that's probably the longest running ska band in the world. Napoleon Solo is another that's been running a really long time.
I love Napoleon Solo. We were just talking. Who were we just talking to?
They did one of the Bad Manners tours with us. I believe it was called the Ska Explosion Tour of 1989 or something. And they were on pretty much all the shows. And that was when they were wild teenagers. So it was pretty fun.
This one?
Yeah. Wow. What is that?
This was that one with all the UK bands. This one has the Scattos, Judge Dredd, Hot Knives, Deltones.
Awesome.
Loafers, Laurel Aitken.
We got to meet and play with all of those bands that you're mentioning. I don't think we're on that record, but we got it in the late '80s. Got to meet and play with all of those bands, and it was great times. It really was. There are a lot of great stories from touring with Judge Dredd, that's for sure. We were very innocent, in many ways, and so he had a lot of fun with us. Taking the piss, as he would say.
Oh my God! I laugh every time I hear that "Up with the Cock" song.
Yep. Oh, that you just reminded me. He made this big deal out of the last show that we did with him, where he gave us. We told the audience anyway. I've had this cock for decades now. I've taken it on tour with me for decades now, and I want to give it to Bimskalabim. And so it's a big speech, But he had like a box of cocks in the he carried around with him.
So someone in your band
a big rubber chicken. A big rubber chicken, of course. We need to qualify that.
Now one of your bandmates has Judge Dredd's cock?
I don't know who has that, but somebody must still have that. Wow, that's a good question.
Now, looking back, what is your most proud moment of the band? What are you most proud of?
I'm gonna say the 40th anniversary show that we decided to do kind of on a whim, and 10 members of the band showed up. 10 members and former members. Basically 9 people that were on the first album were there and performed. Nice. And it was we did a matinee because the club had never done a matinee before. We talked them into it. It was a pretty big club, and we sold it out. And we filmed it, but we filmed it in a really weird way, in that it annoys a lot of artists when people use their phones for the whole show or whatever. And like Dave is known for stopping shows, English beat shows, because he just gets too annoyed with it. But we sort of turned that around and said, pick your favorite songs and record. If you have a good phone, record the band. So we had about 40 people give us their footage from the 40th anniversary show, and we made a documentary out of it, all shot by fans. And it came out really weird and good. And
Nice.
it's finished, and we're supposed to premiere it through the Specialized website to raise money for Specialized over the next couple of weeks. So I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I forgot to talk about it. But that's our newest documentary. It's all about that one show that we did for our 40th anniversary. And Lauren from the first album, singer, showed up. Jackie showed up. John Cameron showed up. Vinny was there.
Wow.
My brother who sang on the first album also was there. So I believe the number was 10 people, 9 people from the first album, and Jackie, who was on the second album and toured with us for 3 years. So, it was a pretty cool 40th anniversary show, and the audience filmed it with their phones and some cameras, and we made a documentary out of it, and it's coming out soon to raise money for Specialized.
Nice. Can't wait to see it.
Will it be on physical media?
Physical stuff just isn't. I know for collectors it is, but in general, it's just not something that many people do. I'm an old guy, and the game is weird at this point. Though we still have Chuck, doing pressings. 1/5 or 1/10 of what we used to press. It's all streaming and stuff now. So
yeah,
not that I'm thrilled about that, but I guess it gets out to more people. That's another bizarre story, because Bimskalabim was one of the first 10 bands to be on. I wanted to say Nimbit, but that's not it. What was the first? Oh gosh, I'm forgetting. What was the name of the first internet source where you could download MP3s?
Napster? No.
Napster.
Is it Napster?
Yes, Napster.
Okay.
The guy, and I'm forgetting his name. It might be Steve.
Mark.
Who started Napster, was our assistant sound man.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
True story. So we were one of the first bands ever to on Napster, which was the first, and we thought it was all very innocent, and of course we gave it to him for free, and it was all the downloads were done.
Sean Parker?
for free. Yeah. So that's kind of an interesting story that you reminded me of. He was
crazy.
Our assistant sound man. Did actual live sound for us, maybe 2 shows, but he was Chris Blood, who's a great sound man, assistant, or Chris was his mentor. I think he might have even just been a teenager. So when he started Napster, explained it to us, and we were one of the first 10 bands that were gave them material to put out on the computer.
Wow. Now you were talking
great.
about the streaming services, and I was looking on Spotify, and I really didn't see much of your albums on that.
There's only two albums on Spotify, and they're both bootlegs. Beatville Records hasn't reported to us in years and years, and so they're just ripping us off. We don't believe in Spotify. Reading initially, asked us to do it, and reading the contracts and the splits of 0.0003 was not working for us. We just said no as a band. We said no. Might have been a naive decision, but we're still sticking with it, and it's definitely hurt us. but it's our way of saying you're not treating the bands right, and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. So we also we got offered contracts in the past over the years for various things that we just didn't take. Reading the contracts, it's like, really, you think you're going to pay us that much? That's
Wow.
not enough. This is a bad
Mm-hmm.
contract, and most people go ahead and sign those bad contracts. To be honest with you, and I think it was a lot of getting spooked by the celluloid thing. Us and the Toasters getting screwed so badly early on in our career that we were trying not to let that happen to us again, because it almost broke up the band. We spent tens of thousands of dollars on recording an album with all these great producers and great expensive studios for our second album. Our first album was pretty successful for a first album, independent album for sure. And it was very discouraging to get ripped off that badly. So we were very careful and turned down stuff in order to be able to have our own label, which is what we did for decades. We had our own label, many similarities to Moon. We both signed to Relativity the exact same day, and as friends, we walked each other through the whole idea of it, having our own record labels. We had Bib Records, and they had Moon Records, and we, like I said, we signed basically the same day for a distribution deal, which means we're not actually signing with the label. We're signing with the label to have the right to distribute, the exclusive right to distribute our records. But then they got bought by Sony, and then Sony cut, after 2 years of getting pretty good checks, Sony cut the 50% of the bottom 50% of the entire label, and both Moon and Bib fell into that category. So we got dropped from. Yeah. So in the long run, it didn't work well for us that Relativity got bought out by Sony.
Mm-hmm. So where can someone find your albums now? Where can one purchase one?
Everything's up on Bandcamp, and everything's up on YouTube.
Okay, YouTube and Bandcamp. Okay.
And we still fulfill mail order, and you go to bimska.com and order anything you want there, and that's Mark, our bass player, and his archive. He's an archivist, so he's got more than anybody else, rare stuff and so forth. So if you want to write to him about things that you can't find, he might be able to help you.
Okay.
Because some people, a very small handful of people like Daryl, want to have complete sets of things, but there are others out there, and so I can't even remember how many singles we have. It's only like 8 or 9, but there are some of them that are really difficult to find. That came out in a magazine or came out just for a specific show with Selector. There's a single with Selector on one side and Bim on the other that's pretty hard to get.
Now, if someone's never heard of your music, what's a song you tell them to listen to first, and why?
Give Me Some, because it's our newest song, and I really like it. Actually, the whole band really likes it, so that's a good thing. Our band is so diverse that we all have our own favorites of stuff, but everyone in the band really digs this. So yeah, and I always like to think that the newest stuff is the best, at least in our minds and so forth. Continue to make stuff that makes us happy and makes other people happy.
Yeah,
you guys, one of the questions that you guys asked me that I didn't answer is bands that I like. And of course, the ones that we've already talked about, before and after, from Nick to the Toasters to the Bosstones to the Allstonians. But Ricky Rocksteady is somebody, if you don't know who he is, he's in about 4 bands. And some of them being Ricky Rocksteady and the All Stars, the Attractors, and Void Union. We try to put him on at least 1 or 2 shows on every tour that we do. I just think Ricky's a booming, incredible voice, and really dedicated to music. And I love what he's doing. So he's one of my favorites. Of course, I love for the West Coast. I really love the Agrolites a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I think the Steady 45s are great. So, so you guys, I think you guys got to pop in scene again in the West Coast. And it obviously you do, because you're filling up these big clubs all the time.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's a cool thing. But it's come back. It's come back on the East Coast as well. There's a lot of bands, but in the middle of the country's got more bands than ever now too. So
yeah,
it's definitely a thing again. We talk about that a little bit in the New England Ska Summit, whereas there was a real dead area around 2000 for a number of years, and it's really made a comeback. As of somewhere around 2019 or something, and then we had the lockdown. But there's a lot of great ska bands right now.
We actually have my friend Kat has she runs 150 Productions. We actually have a movie coming out based on the traditional ska scene from the early 90s called A Steady Beat Film.
Yes, there you go. Okay,
yeah.
That's you guys.
Yeah, so I'm one of the writers on the film, along with
welcome,
Junior,
welcome to the film
Junior.
business. I don't. It sure is a tough road, but it's a lot of love, and
yeah, it's myself for the writers. It's myself, Ted Morris, who's a DJ out here, your buddy Junior Francis, Eric Kohler, and Jeff Govan from Mobtown. So we're the writers on that film, and then we're also part of the film as well. And I think one of the only things that's left is the interview with Joey, but he lives up north, so it's kind of hard to track him down to get that done.
Yeah. You can come here next year when he comes.
We should.
By the way, you're welcome, and everybody listening is very welcome to come here to the new ska vacation capital of the earth.
That is awesome. Now, do you guys have any plans to Bimskalabim to play the West Coast?
I've been getting more invitations to do just that. Curtis being one. I didn't mention Monkey. We used to do shows with them as well back in the day in Bucko 9. But yeah, it's something that we'd like to do, and it almost happened, but it didn't. So we're one of the best ways. We were talking to Mida about it as well. One of the best ways is to have a couple of anchor shows or a couple of festivals get offered to us, and then we build a tour around that. So kind of waiting for that to happen. And I think it will. We're up for it.
Yeah.
Like I said, we got to, offer us a couple of festivals within 2-week area, and then we'll come out and do 10 shows, probably something like that.
All right. Well,
That's
Jose,
cool.
we got to make that happen.
Yeah, we got to make it happen for real.
Jose's been wanting to book some shows.
Mida's willing to get involved. He's doing an annual festival now that's building, right?
The Central Brew Ska. Yeah, it's this weekend. No, it's next weekend. Sorry.
And would this be the third one?
This will be the second one.
The second.
Yeah.
Second one.
Yeah, it's Mida and Josh Coots from Vegas, Junior Ska Boss. They're the ones that throw it, and I think Dave from the Bracers also is up.
How close is it to the Vegas festival?
To Punk Rock Bowling, it's Punk Rock Bowling. Vegas is about 5 or 6 hours from here, and that's about.
No, I mean
11
season.
Oh, the season. It's about a month and a half away. So theirs is this coming weekend. Of Punk Rock Bowling is the last weekend of Vegas. In Vegas around Memorial Day weekend.
So that's what we need to do, is find another ska festival that's near to Mida's or near to the Punk Rock Bowling, something like that. That's usually how we do it.
Yeah.
That's been the theory for decades. Well, we'll go to California, get a couple of good offers, and we'll build a tour around that.
Well, it looks like I got to get together with Mida and Curtis, and and we gotta make that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
do it.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Now I
Jose,
got one last question. What's the weirdest venue you ever played at?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot, but um, um, that the two. I'll do two quick ones that come to mind. When we first got to England and we played the Sir George Robey sold out show with opening for Prince Buster,
oh man,
and people still talk about uh, the bathroom flooding. So and people would just stand by the end of the night. People were just standing in the doorway peeing into a lake of piss. So
Way.
that was a crazy night. People still talk about it. It was that crazy.
Wow.
And the other one was well, I think it was called Bob's Big Boat in Rhode Island. We would play this boat. It was really too old to go anywhere, It's sort of moored, but it's still on the water. Um, and we absolutely packed it. And for some stupid reason, I decided, let's see if I can get the audience to rock the boat. And
oh no,
we rocked the boat so hard that we tore the ropes off of the mooring and got in huge trouble.
Oh
Uh,
no.
it was fun.
there goes your pay for the night.
Yeah.
Good question. I think that they were threatening something there, but at the end of the night,
Oh man.
and it might have been the last of Bob's Big Boat too. Like we sunk it, but I don't remember any shows after that. I don't know for sure. It wasn't good.
To piggyback on that one, or expand upon that, any crazy tour stories over the decades
Well, yeah, millions probably.
Yeah.
that you could at
I'm
least
talking
speak
about
of?
talking about. Let's see if I can remember it. Um, uh, Judge Dredd, just pulling pranks on us regularly. The one that comes to mind is that on our way into Scotland, he's like, I want to get some of that thistle. Are you guys going to do some thistle with me? It's it's a little bit like psilocybin. It's a little bit like peyote. It's called thistle. Scottish people love it.
Huh.
And he wound up even going and saying he scored some and coming back with this whatever the hell it was and actually got us to eat it and then just started laughing at us.
Oh
The whole
no,
thing was just made up.
I was like, what is this?
so
Thistle. And you have to say thistle, thistle,
Oh, thistle. Thistle.
thistle, thistle.
Crazy.
He was a lot of fun.
now,
And we
Dan,
had
have you ever heard of a ska box?
I have. I believe it's a thing where you don't know what you're getting until you get it.
Yeah,
Yep.
pretty much.
But
Well,
it's all
we
Scott, or a mix of vinyl and stickers and buttons and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Yep.
So we have a collaboration with them where our listeners and people who subscribe to our accounts and Skybox will run a free Skybox monthly. So that's a great thing. I just wanted to let you know that that's something that we have around for our listeners as well.
Chuck's probably donated to that for you guys, right? Or how does it work?
Well, yeah, he has. Well, it's not something that we do. It's someone named Cassie that owns that company, Skullbox, that does that. But yeah, I have
Oh, okay.
received a lot of jump up stuff in the past.
Hmm.
You're a subscriber. I got you.
Well, yeah, I was a subscriber before in
I've
regards.
seen Mida do some, or what do you call it, unboxings.
Yeah, he does
Yeah.
unboxing of some of that.
So
So
that's about as
what?
familiar as I am with.
So last question here. What does the future hold for Bimskalabim?
Well, it's a real good question. We've talked about a lot of things. Steady Earnest is actually working on a new album. It's been going very slowly. We did release a single and a video this year. called Feel the Rush, and some I don't know. There's maybe 4 tracks done or something like that, and we have several other tracks that are in the making, and we wanted to do a 30th anniversary release, but it's gone way over 30 years now. But we got back together to do some recording. We've got about, I don't know, 4 tracks done and 3 tracks that we're working on, and several ideas. So hopefully that's coming along. Right now, Bimskalabim did some talking about, like I said earlier, Paul Iris offered to do an all dub versions album, and but that's about the only thing that talking about right now.
That's great.
But that's enough. And of course there is another thing that I haven't mentioned, and that's Stubborn. I'm working with Jeff, sort of helping advise him and talking to bands that are friends. It's called Bim Bam Boom, and it's a series very similar to Still Stubborn, on Stubborn Records, all Bimskalabim songs done by friends of ours, basically. And we're just finishing the volume 4 right now to come out in the next couple of months, hopefully. It's got a lot of great stuff on it. I'm not supposed to say, but a lot of great stuff on it.
All right.
It may be the best of the 4, but that's been fun. A lot more work than I thought it would be, but it's been fun. And a lot of weird versions of Bim songs. So the whole band has different songs that they like and different takes of stuff, but something like 50, 60 covers of Bim songs. So it's kind of fun. That was started as a 40th anniversary thing too.
So to find your music, where would we go? The bimska.com?
Bandcamp and bimska.com.
Got it.
And YouTube.
Bimska, yeah, and YouTube has pretty much everything too. All of them, and so a few of them aren't even us. We just let who put them up there continue to bootleg them on YouTube. Yeah, no. Well, yeah, we get checks for a few $100s from YouTube. It really doesn't add up to much. The streaming payments to bands are criminal. So hopefully that will change. We'll see. I think it will. But something a little more fair for the musicians would be nice.
Yes.
And you hear even the biggest artists talking about it. It's not like it's just me complaining. It's not a good deal. I mean, right. 0.003 something, I believe.
Wow, that's very small.
Yeah, of a cent per stream.
Yeah.
Any last words for your fans and our listeners?
Hope to come back to the West Coast. Thank you guys. You got a great ska scene there, and I look forward to coming and at least visiting and seeing some shows. I have some friends that I went to visit in LA a couple of years ago, and maybe I'll go visit them again. And I'd love to see some shows, especially Aguilar's Steady 45 or Junior Francis. So
yeah,
cheers. Keep it up.
Well, we'll put something together.
Keep promoting the good music.
I got the wheels turning already.
Yes.
All right. So we'll see you when we come.
Yeah, for sure. Dan, it's been a true pleasure. I'm a total Bimskalabim nerd and fan. So this has been a true pleasure for me, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Check out Gimme Some. Check out our new single, Gimme Some, and let me know what you think. I think you're gonna love it. It's sort of old style.
I will.
Yeah, we play around with a lot of styles, as you know, but this one's that old style that a lot of you West Coast guys love. That we touch on sometimes, but certainly not all the time. Just dig it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the island.
Thank you.
See you.
I will. Come visit.
Yeah, we will. Visit. One day.
Like I said, early January, February, or March.
Got it. We'll see you then. Take care.
Right.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Skankers. Jose here, aka Skanking Force. Would you like to win a free Ska Box? It's as easy as following Ska Box Rocks and Stiff Dog Records on Instagram and Facebook. And subscribe to Ska History Hour on YouTube and comment Ska Box Rocks in any video to enter. Good luck!